Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow again. I knew I wanted to say something else, but I couldn't for the life of me remember what it was. I knew I felt it was important, but my brain would only go as far as remembering that I wanted to say something, but not remembering what the thing was. Well, I was just sitting here sewing, listening to Karina Kaboom in the background, and I remembered. Yay for me and my very efficient brain. What I wanted to say, Foodie, is you claim to know for a fact that Salah is not a romance scammer because he pays for stuff and he is financially looking after you somewhat. Now, here's my response to this. A romance scammer, if their goal was to get citizenship or the visa, let's say, to live in another country, would do everything in their power to ensure that that thing, their goal, would happen. If they started bleeding you dry for money immediately, you'd get suspicious, the relationship would end, and therefore the goal wouldn't be achieved. If they started bleeding you dry after a bit, you may be slightly more invested in the relationship, but then the money needed to get to Canada or wherever in this scenario I'm making up would mean it would take longer. If you continued your pretense as if, this is a legitimate relationship, it would encourage the national from the country you wish to go to make more of an effort and to expedite the facilitation of the travel to the country, because you would believe that this is legitimate, it's genuine, we all move and will continue happily ever after. As I've said previously, there are documentaries about romance scammers with women who met somebody, married them, had decade-long relationships with them. Some even had families with these individuals. But once these gentlemen, let's say, got the paperwork, got the visa, the citizenship, the green card, or the passport, buggered off almost immediately. There was one guy, it used to be the case, if you were in the UK for more than 5 years, you could get a passport. There's one guy, they met, they married, they lived together, they came over to the UK, and he still continued with this woman until the day he physically received his passport, and then he left. He worked, he provided some money, he seemed as if he was just a guy who was married to a woman and they were doing marriage things. Not only did he leave the day he got his passport, retrospectively it transpired that for a few years he'd been ferreting away some of her money, and also because they had a joint bank account, he emptied it completely the day he left. So while he didn't get money from her during the relationship, he robbed her blind the day he got his paper. What I'm saying is, not all romance scamming is about money. It's not about physically acquiring cash. Salah's living environment has improved since you've arrived. His vehicle has improved since you arrived. He gets better stuff. His quality of life has improved since you arrived. He doesn't have to be trying to physically get money off you. He could be squirreling away bits and pieces without your knowledge. You don't know that. He could be saying something costs this amount, exaggerating the price, and how the fuck would you know? You don't even know what the currency looks like and what it means, so how the hell would you know? His goal could be to have a slightly better quality of life until he gets the paperwork and then fucks off. Money might not be his end goal. It might not be his achievement. Of course, everything's going spectacularly pear-shaped because he didn't take into consideration you. Didn't know about your debts, and he didn't know about your food addiction. He didn't know about your rages, because despite everything, this happy, genuine, legitimate marriage, he has aged 10 years, you have gained 100 pounds, and you can barely walk faster than a mile an hour, all the time wheezing like an asthmatic elephant while you're doing it, and you have legitimately, arguably, it's in everybody's faces, no joy in your life whatsoever. This is a long con. People are willing to invest their time, their effort, and their money in order to get to the other country and then get the paperwork or the legal things done to the point that they cannot be expelled from the country, and then they will go. Just because Salah is supporting you, allegedly, according to you, just because he's not asking you for money, allegedly, according to you, doesn't mean this is not a romance scam or legitimate relationship, or means this is a legitimate relationship. If the end goal is to reside in another country and have all the necessary documentation, that means that should your relationship end, they cannot be deported, they will invest. There are men who have had children with people but have left the second they got the documents they wanted. There are documentaries all over the place. There are quite a few UK documentaries of women, UK women, who have gone through elaborate romance scams. And the minute the documentation has been authorised, the men have disappeared, abandoned them without a trace, a note, an explanation, or even a goodbye. The fact that Salah is paying his way, allegedly, does not mean this is not a romance scam. That's not proof. It's not evidence. quite frankly, it just shows he's dedicated to his end goal.